coastal ecosystem. Some of us, we are only familiar with, okay, using artificial intelligence to write paper, to correct our grammar, like ChatGPT. But I think it will be really interesting if we have more insights and knowledge how we use this AI to solve the problem we are facing regarding our environment. So, our speaker for today, I will just do a brief description or profile, let me say, of our speaker for today. So, let me just share the screen. Okay. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
But
thank you.
it stopped sharing again.
Okay. What about now? Can you see it or not? Hello?
It's not coming up now.
Okay.
Maybe it's still loading. Can you stop sharing, then you reshare again?
Okay, let me see again.
Oh, yeah, it's working now.
Okay. So, our speaker for today is Mr. Sadiq Abayomi. He's a Nigerian climate researcher and activist. He has a background in meteorology and climate science from his bachelor degree, and he has been really motivated by the urgent need to address climate crisis in Nigeria, and he has actively participated in grassroots environmental campaign. He also served as the country coordinator for the Africa Climate and Environment Foundation from 2020 to 2023. And during that period, he worked closely with vulnerable community to raise awareness about the impact of human-induced climate change. And of recent, he graduated from his Master in Environmental Sciences, Policies and Management at the University of Manchester under Erasmus Mundus Scholarship. And his research focused on using artificial intelligence and Earth observation to assess climate extreme in sub-Saharan Africa. He's been passionate about how to leverage artificial intelligence to develop climate solutions for Nigerian and the broader Africa continent. Please help us welcome our speaker. Please, I want people to react. Thank you, thank you. So,
Yeah.
I think from his profile, you can see that, okay, he has knowledge about what we are going to discuss today. And I hope everybody that's already joined and people that will still join, we gain one or two things from this webinar, and I promise you, it will be really impactful. So let's sit and listen attentively to our able speaker to take the mic. Over to you, Mr. Sadiq.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mrs. Swebat. Yeah, thanks for the warm introduction. I really appreciate that. And thank you, other members and participants for taking your time to join today's session, because each and every one of us has one or two things to do, especially at this moment. So, but for you trying to create time to join this webinar and wanted to learn one or two things regarding how we can use AI to solve the climate crisis, specifically related to the ocean and the coastal communities. So, thank you very much. So, let me share my screen so that we can start. Can you see my screen now?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So without much ado, so I'm trying to going back to this because the host has already done that, and we appreciate that. So the topic for today is in form of a question. So, and I think by the end of this today's webinar, we are going to say, okay, is it truly that AI can be like a good, a really important tools to solve and protect the coastal ecosystem from the ongoing climate crisis? Yes, I think. So as you can see, I'll start by, Africa.
Sorry, please, can you make it a full screen?
So I don't know why you're not coming.
I think it is in full screen already, though it is full screen from my end.
Yes, same here.
Maybe Mike. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, I think it's full screen here.
Yeah, it's coming. So is it okay like this?
Yes, continue.
All right. So as you know that to be specific, the focus of this webinar will be more about like Africa, you understand, or West Africa. It's not about the global consent. So as you all know, Africa as a continent is being bordered by a lot of seas and oceans. So which is one of the privilege or advantage for the people and also for the continent as well, because Africa is bordered by
Sorry, I think it's network.
Yes, I think it's network. So, hold on. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay.
sorry, I don't know what's coming. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So as you said, about 10 million people, they are making their livings from oceans and sea in Africa. And there's another saying that this thing happened. So they say about people living in the coastal communities. Sorry, I don't know why these things are happening. So they say about 70% of the people living in the coastal communities they make about 70% of their daily protein from these aquatic organisms like fish in the oceans and sea as well. And there is a projection by UNDP by 2030, about 50 million people will be living in the coastal communities. In majority of African countries, like let's say from Accra to Niger Delta and other part of Africa countries. So these numbers or this data is just to show that there are more reasons why we need to act fast and protect this environment from the global climate crisis, because it has to do with life, it has to do with people, their earning and other forms of securities like environment, human, economic and other sort of things. So we'll be moving further. So before we proceed, as I said, I don't want this webinar to be like in form of me doing the talking alone. I want it to be interactive. So if you don't mind, can you just scan the QR code? So by doing this, I just want to have some of your insight before we proceed. Please, can you take a picture of this? Or I can send the link to the chat box. Can I see the link? Hello?
Yes, we can see the link.
Oh, all right, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, someone says ChatGPT, virtual assistants. Okay, let's keep going. Someone said, so the response is anonymous. We are not going to know who, you understand. You can just keep dropping something so that we can make it lively and you understand. So when I virtual assistant, a multi-purpose tool, exactly. So people keep basically some years back, if I ever hear as well, what comes to mind is also like maybe this writing assistant tool or something like that. So I think it's not bad. So virtual assistant. So we are okay. Let's see if we can get two or more responses, then we move to the other part. Okay, let's move to the second part. So can you see the second one? So you say which of this is AI already doing today? So we're talking about AI now. So we're still going to delve into AI, but I just want to see what are your insight or opinion about these tools? Good. Okay. Okay. So okay, I think so you have like 7 responses. That makes sense. Okay, so let me go back to my slide. So and this is for the second. So thank you. So as we can see now, from the responses, I can see that some of us think AI is ChatGPT, you understand, which is not bad, you understand, but AI is more than ChatGPT. It's just like a subset of ChatGPT, so it's not ChatGPT alone. So because we can see like AI, it helps a lot in when it comes to like structuring or modifying writing, you understand, correct grammar. You want to send emails to like some of your professors or something like that. So it tries to like helps us in this area. But AI can do more than this. And there's one adage that people like keep saying, AI is going to take our job, is going to take our work, is going to deprive us from making money, from making our living, something like that. So I personally, I don't think in this direction. I used to see it in half glass full in the sense that I try to look what are the advantage that these tools can do for us instead of complaining or lamenting because AI is already here and it's here to stay. You understand? You should try to adapt and you understand like how can you leverage your own skills, you understand, to catch up with what's going on. So regarding artificial intelligence, let's try to see AI as a big box, you understand? So which encompasses a lot of tools inside let's see it as a toolbox that house many tools inside. So now some of the subset of artificial intelligence, and because when we are talking about artificial intelligence, it started this is a concept that started at the University of Manchester by a guy or a professor called Alan Turing. You understand? He started by thinking about like, if I throw a question to you like, uh, can non-living thing, can they think? The answer 70 or 90% is going to be that no, you understand? And that's how this guy started like, can machine things? Can they think like human? So he started that research in 1950. So can machine things? So he started training data. So and that's how they started the artificial intelligence concept. So now for the first one, which is the machine learning. So this is just a process whereby machine learns data. They learn from data, you understand? For instance, if for some of us that are familiar with Python, let's say I said I have a variable x, I name it, I give it the value 2. I have another variable y, I give it value 3. Then, so I have a variable, so then I give a y variable 3. So if I said z, hey, z is equals to x plus 2. So it's going to know that if I say print z, it's going to give me 5, you understand? So it learned from that z is now 5, x is 2, y is 3. If I said, okay, hey, I want to print another variable and I want you to print v, which is equals to x times y. So he already know that x is 2, y is 3. So it's going to give me 6 instead of 5 now. So it has learned from the data now, instead of me trying to like tell him what to do repeatedly. So that's how machine learning works. And we have different types of machine learning. We have like linear regression, logistic regression, support vector machine, XGBoost, and different sort of machine learning like that. So for the deep learning, deep learning is also a set of artificial intelligence. So it works similar to machine learning, but it's advanced than machine learning, and it does not require human support, like much human support. So, and it works using the neural network, which is similar to brain concept, you understand? So it requires large amount of data, to process. So, and that's how deep learning. So deep learning has been used for a lot of research in terms of oil spillage, a lot of big research like that. So the next one is computer vision. So for computer vision, this is a process whereby computer, they learn from images, they learn from image, they learn from patterns. So for instance, we know this gaming, robotics, AI. So this is the approach, this is the concept that they use. They use the computer vision. And there's another one like Cora and the Cora bleaching part. There is a computer vision also is needed in that area as well. So the next one is the predictive modeling. So for this predictive modeling, it has to do with meteorology, like weather forecasting. So previously, there is a physics model where people, for people from Nigeria like myself, there used to be some times when they are going to say, okay, the forecast that is going to be rain, they're going to be raining for 2-3 days in Ibadan, and to be honest, you are not going to see one single drop of rain throughout the weeks or for 2 weeks. So it's not that they are not trying, but they try, but it's not up to the stand. So now there's something we call ensemble learning. So the ensemble learning, it works in the sense that the model is not going to be run once. We're going to run the models multiple times, several times, so that we can have as much as possible, what's called a prediction. So that it's going to close. You have more forecast, so that, and you're going to it's going to be close to the real thing. And one of the advantage of this predictive model is that it can be used to dictate or send warning to where severe weather event is going to come up, so that early warning approach can be deployed to that kind of environment. So it's being used in many advanced countries, and I hope it's going to be useful in our country as well. So the last part is what we already know about, which is generative AI, the ChatGPT, the cloud, and other parts. So let me move forward. Right, okay. Sorry. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you so much. So now moving forward, we are going to move to some of the challenges or the ocean and the marine community face today. So I'm going to start with the plastic threat, because I call this plastic threat, I call it the visible killer, because this is something that we can see, you understand. It's not being caused by any lower organism. Majority of the plastic crisis is 95 to 100% is from anthropogenic activities, because we've seen a lot of cleanup activities by Aqua World in Ilaje, Futa, and other part of it. So this plastic crisis is something that we cause by ourselves, and this is why it's something that we can fix at the fastest rate. You understand? maybe by doing a lot of things like that. But that's some of the crises we face today. And there's like a projection by the UNDP, no, sorry, by UNEP and FAO that up to 640,000 tons of abandoned fishing gears enter the oceans every single year. That is much. So the next one is what we call the invisible killer, and this is where the climate crisis comes into the discussion. So when because see this climate crisis, since after the Industrial Revolution, the amount of CO2 uh, has increased very much. So now, when the CO2 is being emitted into the atmosphere, ocean serve as a sink, and it's acquire much about 30% of CO2, and also some other part goes into the atmosphere. So regarding the one that goes into the ocean is what leads to the process known as ocean acidification. When we're talking about ocean acidification, you understand this is normal chemistry. CO2 mixed with water. The water is H2O, while CO2 mixed with water is going to lead to what we call trioxocarbonate for acid, H2CO3. So H2CO3 is acidic in nature, so it's going to increase the acid content of the water, you understand? And when this happens, it affects some ecosystem, some species in the ocean bodies, like for example, the coral reefs, which serve as shelter for some organisms or from fish in the aquarium, is going to affect this system. So it leads to like coral bleaching. It affects the mangrove part in the water as well, which also serves like food to some organisms. So when this occurs, it affects, it disrupts, and it can collapse the food web as well in the ocean. So they said, okay, the plankton. So you see, coral reefs are especially vulnerable because smaller and less resilient over time. Because coral reefs, they are what's it called? They are system that they cannot move. You understand? They are not like a fish that can swim. You understand? So when this occur, it affects them a lot. So the second part is the ocean and the global warming part. So when we try to so when we try to uh when there are much CO2 in the atmosphere, you understand? So in meteorology, there is what we call what's it called? There is what we called long wave and short wave radiation. So the long wave radiation going to the atmosphere. So because the God has created this Earth in a unique way. So when the long wave radiation is going back into the atmosphere, there's a way it's being trapped, you understand, to keep the Earth warm, so that it's not going to be too cold for human. So when it's a little bit warm, so that is why we can live, we can do what we want to do. But when this is becoming too much, so the global warming, the heat, which is too much, is going to be severe for human. So sorry, it's going to be too harsh for us. For instance, in the UK and other European countries, people are experiencing heat waves now, which makes things severe, difficult for them. So this, and regarding the ocean part, you understand, the rising temperature affects a lot of systems in the ocean. So one of the issues is that when there are warming in the ocean, it's can lead to sea level rise, which can lead to like flooding, erosions, which along the coast. It can lead to like storms, so where the warm water fuel are intense cyclones, and also it can affect the corals reef, which is known as coral bleaching. The next one is what we known as when there is a warming in the system, it can lead to like upwelling, so that the species, they can shift, because you understand, the organism, they are going to look for places that are cooler, so that they can settle down. So they are going to like a redistribution of this species in the ocean. So which means that maybe there is an area where the fisherman, the local people, they're trying to catch this fish. So there'll be like a redistribution, so they can move further away from where they are, where their initial spot. So these are some of the effects. So the next one. So so the next one of the crises is illegal fishing as well. So illegal fishing, it affects a lot of things. It affects the government. It affects the people that are that they depend their livelihood on this system. You understand? When people come, they come at night. They try to catch as much as they can, and you understand, export the fish, spend. So these are some of the things that is affecting the coastal communities and the marine sector as well. So now, when we have something like this, one of the worst things that happen is that, so for instance, when the ocean becomes too hot and we have like the acidification as well, so it becomes a threat to the coastal communities, to people living in this surrounding. It's also degraded the resources, the coral reefs, the coast become declines. And when we have like sea level rise, you understand, and there's like water claiming some of the lands that people are already living, so it can lead to the loss of security, that people lose their income, the place they are living becomes eroded, they lose their the ways of their livelihoods and other parts, and this leads to conflict, because when this kind of things happens, it's going to increase competitions among people living in this area. So when the resources become scarce, there'll be competition. And based on one of the projection I cited in the first part of the slides, so they said by 2030, the coastal communities in Africa, majority of the coastal communities in Africa, they are going to experience like surge, like a lot of people are going to move to this part, you understand? So when we say we are going to see like 50 million people in this coastal part with this crisis, it's going to be like a lot of conflicts due to scarce resources. There will be like competition among people, which can lead to a lot of issues. So before moving forward, I would like us to watch this video. Then, sorry, I would like us to watch this video. Then we can have like a coffee break or takes a cup of water, something like that. Thank you.
We can't hear anything from the video. Maybe it's my head, I don't know.
Maybe because of my headset. 1 minute.
We can't hear.
1 minute. 1 minute.
Okay.
This aquatic
What about now?
robot picks up trash in the Chicago
Yes.
River. It's called the trash robot. This aquatic robot picks up trash in the Chicago River. It's called the trash robot, and it's on a mission to make the river cleaner.
Our rivers were kind of manufactured for shipping around the turn of the century. And so we got rid of all the habitat. So we're trying to find solutions and ways to rehabilitate that habitat, bring it back.
So the team at Urban Rivers, a Chicago nonprofit, decided to develop floating gardens, which are meant to serve as wildlife habitat. But they found that these gardens were getting littered with trash.
We looked at ways we could get rid of it. One is get down and scoop it out. That worked for a while, but it was very unpredictable. Figuring out when the trash would be there was difficult for us. So we decided to try to make a solution where we could then clean it up with a robot, basically.
Trash robot can be controlled remotely from a computer. Urban Rivers hopes to turn it into a video game where anyone can jump into one of the two trash robots via webcam, collect trash, and collect points.
What you'll find is like this huge school of what we call Chicago River jellyfish, which are really just condoms that flow into the river.
The trash robot costs about $2,500 to make. After a successful crowdfunding campaign, Urban Rivers hopes to have 2 in the river come summer.
And everyone can contribute to the river and make it, something that's a bigger piece of cleaning up rivers in general.
Yeah, thank you. So continue.
This
Thank you very much for that. So that is a video regarding urban cleanup. You can see that the device itself, it's a bit expensive. So, but I think it uses one of the approach I mentioned earlier. So it uses a computer vision, and it can work on a larger scale when compared to what we can do, you understand, in terms of efficiency. So it's very, very good. So this is one of the advantage or the of artificial intelligence in terms of ocean crisis. So AI has adaptive capacity. Artificial intelligence can use for prediction. They can see, once you train them, they identify images, because regarding the boat that was sent to the ocean, it identified plastics and other forms of pollution on the water body, and they can watch, they can track illegal fleets across entire oceans day and night. So we're going to talk along the way regarding this. So now, regarding some of the solutions or some of the advantage or what AI can do for us in terms of coastal crisis. So this is sea level rise and regarding sea level rise and coastal flooding, as you know, artificial intelligence can be used along the Earth observation approach regarding what we call like a GIS data and geospatial approach. So AI can be used in collaboration with this, and it has been solved a lot of crises. So regarding that, we can train some machine learning to map area with flood and flood forecast in addition, to give community times to act in terms of preparedness. You understand, we can use this tool for it. So in some areas where there are data gaps, so the satellite data can be used to fill this approach. So there's one of the research I did similar to this flood susceptibility approach. I'm going to share that here. So, and if anybody wants sorry, I'm going to drop the link, then you can easily think you can see the screen. So sorry, why it's loading? Am I still audible? Say but. Hello?
Yes.
All right. So this is one of the research I did in 2024 regarding flood susceptibility. So I'm not going to spend much time here. I just want to show you some of the approach we use. So this is purely geospatial, not machine learning or AI. So, but it's something that can be useful if you know how to work about some of the data set that are available. So these are the data set that we use. So these are some of the maps that are being used. Then the final maps, the final output is this. You can see this is this flood susceptibility in Kogi State, Nigeria. And it shows that, the area that are close to the the places that are closest to where the confluence occur, the River Niger and River Benue, they are more susceptible to flooding due to many factors. So this area that are green, you can see from the legend of the map. So it's very low. So, and this is because they are uphill. You understand? So this place, they are more, they are close to the water bodies and other factors like that. These are some of the research we can do. So okay, I can drop the link link in the chat if anybody needs that. So regarding that, the next one, the storms and extreme weather events. So machine learning forecasting can be useful for this, as I mentioned earlier, regarding the ensemble approach. So we can use machine learning to predict and forecast what is going to happen some like 3, 4, 5 days or sometimes 2 weeks before it occurs. So, and this approach, it gives us like the early warning approach, you know, which itself is like adaptive capacity, so that people can, know what is going to happen, you understand, and try to prepare as much as they can to avoid this kind of stories that touch. So the other one is about predicting storms. So these occur most of the time along the coast, or people that are living in Lagos, in Port Harcourt, you understand, they are going to know much about this crisis, the storm, because it occurs most along the coastal communities. So there's one approach by Google, they call it DeepMind GraphCast and GenCast. So it is an AI model that predicts cyclone tracks, and it tracks further ahead of time. You understand? So it is being used, most especially in the developing countries like in the US. I don't know in the UK, but it's being used around the world. So it's tried to beat the physics model I told you about earlier. It also works in like it works very fast, and it's being accurate as much as possible. So it is being used to produce global forecast that once 6 hours or on a supercomputer. It's very fast. It works like within milliseconds, you understand? It gives a forecast very fast. So the next one is the coral reefs. So people use computer vision to monitor the reefs that no dive team can ever even could think about. So they use computer visions to monitor the status of coral reefs in the ocean, inside the deepest part of the ocean, or to see how they behave in terms of the bleaching, or how maybe in terms of maybe if they notice that there are like ocean acidification, or there is increased temperature in some ocean body or like sea. So they try to use this approach to monitor the health and status of coral reefs in this area. So sea surface temperature data fits model that predict bleaching risks before it happens. You understand? So this is one of the coping capacity or that we talked about, because when we have the sea surface temperature data, that can help us to predict the bleaching before it happens, because coral reefs, they are important to the ecosystems in the oceans and sea, because they, as I said, they try to like serve as shelter and habitable environment for the aquatic organisms and other systems. So they are they are useful in a sense. So we try to like predict them before the bleaching occurs that can affect their life. So there's like an image record model that can detect bleaching from other water, and also like a drone footage that is being sent underwater to monitor the status of this ecosystem. So there is a video I'm going to, okay, this one, so that we can have more insight on how it works as well. So this is about the cleanup in Norway.
It is estimated that 640,000 tons of fishing gear is lost or abandoned in our oceans every year, causing havoc to marine life and costing millions to clean up.
As you can see, the bottom
Global
of the ocean.
initiatives are in place, building awareness to this issue, and Deep Tracker is proud to be part of the solution, making cleanup safer and more cost-effective. Using 2 ROVs in tandem, one can cut the gear free from entanglement, and the other can grab onto the cages and net. Pulling them. Together, we can restore marine life and the health of our oceans. Learn more at deeptracker.com.
So that's that about the Deep Tracker. So that is another company that trying to do the ocean cleanup. So you can see the approach they're also using. So that is the ball being sent down to the ocean, but the bottom of the ocean, so to try to do the cleanups. So it's used the computer vision approach. So once they have been trained with these different pictures, different images, so they try to learn from the pattern and see what they want to pick. They are not going to like pick something else because they have been trained, and that's though they might be expensive, but they are in the long run, they serve the better purpose. And okay, before going to that, so the next one is about, sorry, it's about how we can protect the living resources. So fisheries and illegal fishing, also mangrove monitoring. So illegal fishing, this is one of, because I said in terms of economic security or opportunity, people make their livelihood, their earning from coastal resources, or especially people living in this area. So when when illegal fishes keeps going on, so it's going to jeopardize and affect the livelihood of people living in this area, and especially it's going to affect the GDP of country. For instance, there are some countries that this is what they totally depends on. So how can we solve this? How can we stop this illegal fishing? How can we act as a police using artificial intelligence? So, and that is one of the approach that there's one we'll call it Global Fishing Watch. It basically works with machine learning on satellite data. It's used to track like vessel tracking. It works day and night, so it can track the activities going on ship, how everything is. So it works like we call like a drone in the sky. You understand? It monitor, it tracks the movement of this illegal fishing is being done. So you can explore this site. It's got Global Fishing Watch, and you can see how this is being done. Also, regarding the mangrove monitoring, so as you know, for example, people. So okay, the moderator is trying. So mangrove monitoring also is very important. So we need to scale up in this area as well. So uh, as we have seen, the technology is here, it's ready for us. So the question is, what about us? Are we also ready? So one of the things we note in this, is that in Africa, you understand, many African coastal region lacks reliable data that this model can depend on. Also, this AI model, they need the powers, electric power, the computing, you understand, and other local expertise resources. So AI works by informing people. It does not replace the local knowledge of governance. So to this end, one of my what I'm going to use it to wrap it up is that AI is here for us to assist us, and it's not going to take our job. We can work together to contribute to this area, you understand, that needs expertise and researchers. For instance, there are some people here that maybe they are looking for ways to advance their education, maybe through scholarship, through one or two ways. You can work together with some people that these people know how to write, this one can use AI, this one can use this, you understand? So that if you work together in a team, we can come up with a small research, because majority of research now in the UK, in Europe, in the US, people are working in Africa because this is where there are more crises or more issues that needs attention. You understand? So why we in Africa, we are not being the experts to solve this. So I challenge every one of us, you understand, to scale up our skills, you understand, in terms of AI. We can start with Python and other stuff too, because it's something that is, all these skills is open there. Majority of them are open source. No need to pay to subscribe or anything. So I think we've learned one or two things from this. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, our speaker, for this beautiful and amazing presentation. And I hope every one of us, we've learned one or two things from this presentation. Please, if you know that you learn from this, let's react. Let's appreciate our speaker. Let's appreciate him. It's not easy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. So, thank you. I know some of us, we have questions to ask our speaker. If you want to speak, you can raise your hands. But if you don't feel like speaking, you can just put your question in the chat box. So I'll read it to the speaker. So any questions, contributions, suggestions? Questions? Okay.